Hey, what's going on, guys? I hope you guys doing well. Back again. We're doing the replay, as I mentioned in our show for our show we had earlier today with my dude Tony Alexander, that we talked about the two types of resume. He mentioned several times in the discussion about executive presence, and a few folks already mentioned I didn't get a chance to catch that show. Well, I'm doing a replay right now here for you guys. So I'm introducing the concept of executive presence, and mind you, it's not something that I've coined. It was something that Tony was able to go into deep and discuss exactly what that means and how you actually could command it and project it when you're trying to get your ideal job or career, for that matter. So now, before we move any further, I want to definitely let you guys know that all opinions are solely my own and do not reflect the opinions of my employer. The reason why I'm bringing that up is that I work for the second largest waste and recycling company here in Metro Atlanta. So, hey, if we haven't met before, hey, my name is Marcello Arcele. I provide recycling and waste services for companies right here in Metro Atlanta, anywhere between a small to medium to a large organization. You name it, a small chicken joint, a large franchise, or even to an industrial company, I can help. So if you know someone or you are that person that makes the decisions, please give me a call at 678-683-9136. And if you don't make the decisions and you know someone that can help, please let them know to contact me. So what I'm going to do now, without any further ado, I'm going to play the replay of the discussion that we had last week on Cocktails with Cello, episode 25. That was on the 20th or the 22nd of October, where I was actually remote. I was in Norcross, Georgia, after completing a private networking event where Chris Whitmire was so gracious to open up the MSI headquarters and allow me to utilize one of his conference room to go live. So I'm going to bring on that conversation, and you guys more than welcome to engage and have any questions, and I'll be more than happy to answer that. Please, if you have any questions, direct them to Tony Alexander when it pertains to executive presence. That's at Tony Alexander. So please feel free to connect with him, and I'll put his name. I'll hyperlink him in the description. So please feel free to connect with them. Let me bring up that link right here, and I'm going to put on the replay. Thank you very much for watching replay, guys. You have a wonderful evening, or day or afternoon, depending what time of the day you watch it. Thank you, guys. What's going on, guys? Hey, we got Cocktails with Cello on remote. Hey guys, we're at the MSI headquarters right here in Norcross, Georgia. So they've been so gracious to allow me to accommodate one of their conference rooms, which is decked out. I mean, they got it as a beautiful facility. So thank you very much to Rich and also Chris Whitmire to open up the doors and allow us to record remotely. So we're going to be doing our Cocktails with Cello today, and I got, as you can see, I have my dude with me right now, Tony Alexander. What's going on, Tony?
Everything is well. Everything is well. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. Thank you very much. And I want to apologize to everyone that was expecting us to start at 7:30. Some of you guys that are watching or follow me on LinkedIn know that I was having a networking event taking place here in the city of Norcross, which is a suburb of Atlanta, Georgia. So we was catering to the apartment community executives, and we were meeting with them. Really more of a hangout. So we call it Oktoberfest, and it was a private event, and people were just getting together and just chopping it up, catching up most of the time, or meeting someone for the first time. And then essentially you're trying to see if you could find an opportunity to do business. If not, then the key thing is to find a way how you could be of service to each other and then go from there. So that was the main purpose of the event. And we had it all. We had brats, hot dogs, ribs. Oh gosh. I mean, I could show you how decked out. Look at this here. we were expecting a whole lot of people, more than we actually got, unfortunately. And look at this. Look at all these cupcakes. I mean, woo! Wow. Yeah, so we were ready. So but we got rid of another box. So we had quite a bit of donuts and cupcakes to give out. So talk to me, man. How was your day?
My day was pretty well. I actually had the opportunity to join you earlier with the LinkedIn Live LinkedIn lunch. So that was some good information there, and a couple shows around diversity and inclusion. So just giving that knowledge back into the world, man. So today's been a good day.
That's pretty good. I thank you very much for sharing. I see we got some of our veterans from Cocktails at Cello. We got Nick in the house, man. I haven't seen you in a minute. I know that sometimes, life happens. So thank you very much for joining us today, sir. And I see we got LinkedIn user. So most likely this is my dude, Chad. Thank you very much, dude. And I see here paying it forward. Thank you very much, Nick. I got holding down the. Yes, dude, we had hot dog, brats, burgers, you name it. I mean, I had one hot dog, that's about it, and a whole bunch of candies. And I see we got Coach Erica's in the house. Yeah. Hold on a second now. I see somebody just made a comment, and I'm going to make sure that I can click. Oh, Lordy, I'm jacking it up here. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Yeah, you already know what comment he's talking about. Oh, let me take that. Let me bring in there. There you go, buddy. My dude. Yeah, the cupcake man. Yeah, buddy. And I got it in my fingertips. Ooh.
Hey, there's nothing like cupcakes and cocktails, right?
Oh, cupcakes and cocktails is always the best. You can't beat that. What's going on? And we got Chris Woodsmeyer. Come over here, Chris. Thank you very much for
brother.
Yeah.
Hey guys, how's it going? How's Cocktail and Cello's going?
Yeah.
We got Stephanie, the cupcake lady.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's give it up for Stephanie. Thank you,
Stephanie.
Hello. Bye.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. All right, so now, I see my dude, and I see my other person here, Carmen, all the way. I think you're from Chicago. Thank you very much for coming in. And I see Gabriel. Oh, yeah, that was just a little bit that I just tasted is yummy. If you guys have Publix, and I'm sure they're national, most people know that their cakes and their pastries, it's absolutely yummy. All right, so now we got Gabriel also in the house. Gabriel was also hanging out with us earlier on Linked Lunch. So thank you very much for coming through today. And Cupcakes leaving the building. Yeah, you did see that, Nick. You saw they were leaving the building. All right, so now let's get down to business. I know today we want to talk about executive presence. Now, let me see here. We got also, before we go into it, we got awesome. Yeah, that's my dude right there. Kenny, all the way from Sugarland, Texas. I always gotta say it like that. I'm sorry, I just gotta say it like that. And dude, I see we got Bob Morrison's in this house. Hey, Bob, what's going on, man? I think this is the first time I see you, Kenny, on the stream. So thank you very much for joining us today. I appreciate that, and be sure to share it with your network. Let folks know to tune in. And I said, oh Lordy, all right, here we go. Here you go, buddy. That's good stuff, baby. Just for my dude from Sugarland. I just been into some sugar, baby. Now, before we move forward, let me know what part of the world you guys are watching me from. If you're watching me from Sugarland, Texas, Norcross, Georgia, or, say it with me, Bangladesh. Let me know if you guys are there. If you're watching me live, let me know in the comments there. Obviously, if you're watching me live, you're going to say Team Live. But if you're watching a replay, let me know. And as you continue watching the show, if you hear something you like, please, we're going to answer your questions throughout the show. So be sure to share your comments, share your questions. And even if it's on a replay, be sure to do @TonyAlexander, @Marcello, so we could be notified that you have a question so we could respond to you even after the show is over. And as you continue watching the show, please be sure to show your expressions. Click the like button if you hear something you like. So definitely want to know how you guys are doing. And then lastly, be sure to follow Cocktails with Cello, which is the hashtag flowing on the bottom. So, all right, so now let's get to it. I could before I see we got a whole bunch of these. Everybody's going bananas. I see Bob is from Charlotte. Hey, I was just hanging out with some folks right now from South Carolina earlier, right here in Norcross. I see my lady is watching. Wow, look at that. You're from Vegas. I didn't know that. Yeah. And Mr. International Team Live, Sugarland, Love Baby. And, LinkedIn user. This is Deb. Oh, okay. Yeah.
She-Hulk.
That's Seahawk. Yeah. She-Hulk. Yeah. Yeah, I heard about you, Miss She-Hulk. All right. So, and then Sugarland right here. Yeah. Oh, one thing I was going to mention to you, Kenny, I'm going to be joining you. I'm going to be going to Frisco, Texas soon. Thank you. I'm going to be going to Frisco, Texas soon. So I'll give you a shout out. Maybe we'll even take a trip down to Sugarland or trip up, depending what direction I need to go. So now let me ask you this. Now, I know that you mentioned that we wanted to talk about executive presence. I need your help to set that up. Like, how is that exactly? If somebody's tuned into this, because I know that's what you teased as what we will be talking about. Exactly what does that mean?
Okay, so executive presence, right? It's more of a state of mind and being. And there's different types of behavioral traits that actually contribute to an executive presence. So as we kind of talk about this book that we are going to digitally write across this platform, before we go into resumes, before we go into getting the job interview, we're going to talk about having an executive presence. And your executive presence is pretty much your brand. Like, what do you stand for? How do you show up as a leader? And notice that I said a leader and not a boss, because executive presence, one of those things you exude is being leadership. You are there to serve the people. And one of the things that people don't truly understand is that we are in the people business no matter what we do. Cello, you and I, we spoke about that a little earlier in the week, but it's all about the people, the end result. So your executive presence can be anything from your body language to your tone to how you present yourself. And what I don't want the listeners to confuse that with is coming off as a bias, because that's a whole different subject there, because your brand is who you are. And so if you're going in and you're trying to land a job or get that resume to match up with you, you have to have that executive presence. So again, it's a part of being.
That's the key thing. So when it comes down to it, it's a mindset thing, and a lot of people don't know how to effectively or properly get themselves in the proper mindset. Now, before we go into a diatribe, curious to know if you have any advice, or better yet, either advice or maybe even share what you do on getting yourself in the right mindset. And regardless if it's executive presence or not, this is applicable in any scenario for that matter. And I say that to say, I'll give you a scenario now with me. My day today was crazy. It was bananas. I mean, outside of doing Link Lunch, doing a replay of one of the past shows and following up with customers and doing paperwork and, work. I was literally late to the event that I was doing earlier today here because I left later than I expected. So then when I'm rushing because I have to set up my table and my booth and all that, originally I got in a car, I was dejected. I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, I was in a funk. I said, you know what? I'm going to change this. You know what? I'm looking at the clock. I'm seeing how long it's going to take me. I can't change that. It is what it is, right? What I can change is my mindset, my mood.
Yes.
So So I did things to change it up. So curious to know, mind you, eventually when I got here, this is crazy. This is my first time thinking about this right now. When I got here, when I arrived to the destination, I forgot that I was in a bad mood when I first got in the car. Crazy. But it happened that way. You know, and when it comes down to that, it's nothing better. When you're in a good mood, you got the She-Hulk is in the house.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, what's going on? You know, we got the She-Hulk is in the house. What's going on? And let me ask you this, She-Hulk. Do you got a call? I'm thinking about like the Hawks here in Atlanta. They go, ah! Do you got a call?
So it's actually Hulk.
Hulk.
As in the Incredible Hulk.
Oh, that changes everything.
Hulk.
Thank you.
This is a one-woman stand-up show. So I just wanted to show up. I don't know why this LinkedIn user thing has gotten all screwed up and people can't see my name. So I just want to say, hey everyone.
Thank you for joining us.
The lunch earlier.
Thank you.
And this is, it's just great to have these networking opportunities, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is just so incredible. And executive presence.
Yes.
This is such a great topic because, again, I've been a hermit for a decade. I've literally been in corona conditions for the last decade. So
you went from a hermit to a Hulk.
You are getting it. You are getting the color. It's like I literally had to get so angry that I started raging with heart chakra love.
Wow.
That's the She-Hulk thing about it, right? I don't have big green muscles.
No.
That big green heart chakra energy.
Well, think about the Hulk. When you don't want to get him angry. Remember that. You don't want to you remember what he says, right? So the same thing with you. I don't want to get you angry. So I mean, you already got the right color. You're in green. So that tells me already, if I tip you in the wrong direction, you know what I mean?
Exactly. I'm always on brand with the green. I mean, when you have 3 feet of red hair, again, that's the brand.
Wow.
3 feet of red hair, always wearing green.
So now I appreciate you stopping in. I know you mentioned that, you have some issues with LinkedIn user. I recommend you to go into your settings, in your privacy settings. Mm-hmm. And I can't give you specifically directions how to change it, but that's really when it comes down to you're looking for something that says that you are not allowing third-party software to know or track you, something like that, because StreamYard is not LinkedIn. StreamYard is a third-party software that you're using. So you have to change that setting. So then when you're on these channels, then they know who you are. It's a small thing.
It's really interesting. And that was precisely what I thought I'd do, to just jump on, interrupt the conversation a little bit, but get the actual, because I can go behind the scenes and figure this out.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what's the point of being on the comments if people don't know who you are?
See, this is why I make the link public.
Yeah.
That's exactly, mind you, I can understand sometimes people say I'm not camera ready. But not everybody is a She-Hulk.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Not everyone is fearless enough. Not everyone has had Paul Carrick-Brunson to go, he is the most fearless person I know. So I'm just showing this is what executive presence is.
Well,
it's
one thing,
knowing that you're in charge of your own destiny and taking every opportunity, especially when you got guys like Tony. I mean, Tony's my bud. So, I know he don't mind that I'll just kind of show up and see what's going on.
No, I appreciate that. No, before I let you go, I want to give you an opportunity to talk to your audience right here. Mm-hmm. And mind you, what you could do at this point is that in the future, then at this point, when you talk to someone, you can say, hey, I was on a link lunch the other day. Here's a link to the conversation. Start watching it at 16 minutes. And this is where I explain what I do and why should folks connect with me on LinkedIn. So that's what I'm going to ask you now. Please let people know what you do. Why should somebody connect with you here on LinkedIn, and what makes you different? So I want to give you the stage. Go right ahead, please.
Why, thank you, Cello. Look,
you're welcome.
I am seriously the most unique person that you've ever met. I have this great, great background, and I am an actual degreed philosopher. Now, this has made it a little bit difficult to become an entrepreneur, but here's the deal. I'm creating the Wellbeing Philosophy Institute to make clear, anti-racist, life-centric thinking a necessary global public good. So we're going to create a B Corp. We're going to learn how to talk as a species, uniting this globe. Because right now we're all either or, we're all arguing. We don't have this capacity to just show up and learn about people and figure out what they're going on. So this is what I'm trying to do in the world. And I thank you guys for this opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate that. I see my dude, Andrew from Jamaica is in the house. If anybody needs career coaching, and this guy has an outstanding show as well, definitely connect with Andrew. He has a fantastic show, great guest. So definitely recommend you to do that. And if anything, Andrew, if you have a moment, the link is public. You're more than welcome to join us on the chat as well. But thank you very much for joining us today, Deb.
All right. Be well, guys. I'll see you in the comments.
Take care. All right. So now let me finish up here with let me see what Nick is talking about. What are you talking about? Evening shows, hold your beer. You funny. Leadership, you're right. Yeah. And now bring your brand or your ethos. You're right. I mean, this dude, Nick, I love this dude. He almost like he has like the one-liners. Like he just got them out. Like he probably got like like people say you got a soundboard. He probably just go poop, 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 poop. He just shoots them out so quick. It's ridiculous.
But
Bob says, go ahead.
You know what? But he's right. Executive president, it's about having a tagline as well. So he's right on point, right?
Yep. I mean, he's been on my show and he's always provided some great insight. Always, always. So Bob's saying having a servant heart and realizing that leaders build people and change lives. See, that's the key thing. I don't care what role you are. Technically, even if the role on paper, it doesn't appear that you are technically a leader, you'd be surprised how many people you impact. You'd be surprised. You just have to step outside of your comfort zone and ask if people need help. And then sometimes if they don't, sometimes offer it. And like I said in last week's show, I have a customer that our matter was already resolved, our business. However, I still ask, what else can I help you with? So now, okay, so we were in the middle when She-Hulk commandeered the show. And she
I love Deb.
Yeah. And but you were talking about you were about to share your philosophy or your steps on mindset, like, when it comes down to that. So please go right ahead.
Well, definitely, I'll give you one perfect example of being in corporate America for me. So I didn't have a time clock, right? And so, the days or back in the time when I did have a time clock, it was always systematic. I would clock in and clock out. So I had to know when I came through the door, I found one of the metal detectors and I would actually physically tap it. And that's kind of when I, came on, my executive presence. But the deal about it is, there are parts of it that can be taught, but then there's parts of it that if it's not innate, it's not going to happen. So you have to always win in the mind first and understand and be confident in who you are and never allow anyone to diminish that. So for me, in order to get that executive presence or get into the right mindset, I make sure that I take care of myself physically, emotionally, spiritually. I meditate, I do different things. I'm out in the community and I'm making sure that I'm always showing the best version of me. And, and one of the things that we often hear or often say, you can be whatever you want to be. And I don't believe that philosophy. And I know Deb is going to agree with me after working with her, because you can't be anything you want to be, right? You can be who you are destined to be. And so for everyone's not made for the 9 to 5. That's why you have entrepreneurs. Everyone's not made for corporate America. So you have to know what your strengths and gifts are. And the only way to do that is to get around and kicking around in the head up there and understand who you are deep down within. And that's going to take working on you first before you can present that to the public. So that's kind of how I get into that mindset.
No, I like that. If I understand what you're saying is that don't believe that the Huda rah-rah stuff that you hear from time to time from so-called leaders applies to everyone. Essentially, you need to get to the root and then build from there. Am I off, or what do you think? What do you think about my recap of what you shared?
Your interpretation of that is 100%. You have to get the foundation of who you are and build from there. So you can't build from if there's no foundation, right? How are you going to build? So if you don't know who you are, how can you present yourself to the world? What do you have to present? And that's all about what executive presence is. It's not about a title on the paper. So there are executives that don't have executive presence. You know, there's leaders, and you can lead from anywhere in your organization. And I think that is very important for people to know. You can lead up, you can lead down, you can lead across, but it's just very important about who you are. And you said something very important earlier, that, you know, don't think you have to have a title to lead, because we lead every day without even knowing who it is that we're impacting. And so with that, it's about who you are, the essence of who you are deep down within. And I can tell you, people resonate with it. And I've been in places to where people would always tell me, I can come in and I automatically know you're the leader. And it's not a suit, it's not a tie, it's just how I present myself, how I acted with my employees. And it was a good feeling for me, based on, I didn't have to have a name tag or a title to say, hey, you know, I'm the regional vice president for this particular organization, or I'm the COO. But it was just the fact that how I carried myself. They didn't come in and say, you're the boss, because I've heard people come in and say, oh, you're the boss, right? And, you know, and I can remember, and why this is so important, Cello, is I can remember going through a restructuring in corporate America, where we had a vice president that was prior military. And trust me, I spent 10 years in the military. So a lot of people don't believe that, because they say I smile too much. So they was like, no, military people don't smile. That's not true. That's a fallacy. So I'm debunking that now. But when things began to change and the executive presence wasn't there, and the company decided to move away with sir titles. So he was no longer Mr. Johnson, he was Stephen. And every time we called him Stephen, I mean, there was like steam coming out of his ears, right? Because he felt he had earned that title. But the guy hadn't smiled in like 10 years, right? Because to him, it was like a sign of weakness.
Yeah, often.
Yeah, he didn't know how to acclimate to the new climate of, you know, even the employee at the basic level being able to call the vice president Stephen when he came by. So, you know, those are the type of things that you'll see, and you'll automatically know when someone has the it factor, and I'll call the it factor the executive presence. So you have to be mindful and open to who you are. So for me, and just analyzing with that, he was still in a military mindset of thinking that I have to be this rough and rigid person. And with what happened was, you know, going through that change of culture, he wasn't able to adapt. And unfortunately, he didn't stay around much longer after it. So
what do you think that it was the things that could have contributed to his demise, I guess?
I would say definitely the inability to be able to connect on personal levels with people. And again, I say we're in the people business. So it's all about the charisma. It's about the external demeanor. You know, it's about the body language we talked about. It's about having a personal sound bite. And I think the most important part for me, and it's going to be different for different people, but the need to speak versus being heard.
So, boy, that resonates. Let me let you finish your thought. Go ahead.
Yeah, so because for him, he always wanted to be right. And so everyone would always just he's going to be right. But for those who know me, I'm a temperament radical, right? So I'm going to rock that. So I'm gonna challenge you on things, and no matter the level, but I'm gonna challenge you in a very professional and professional way when I do it. And I'm gonna rock the boat, and I'm gonna rock it enough not to rock myself out there. So, but I'm gonna rock the boat, right? Yeah. And that was always a bone of contention between us, because I would definitely listen, and and sometimes I would get jokes in there, so I could make sure that I called him Steven as much as I could, because I knew that was that radical part of me. Yeah. But that those are the things that I think the need to speak versus being heard. I just and being right. I think that was his demise, unfortunately.
I tell you, and the reason why I want, when you said that resonates with me, because I during like our family gatherings, and mind you, this applies even professionally. We all been in scenarios that someone, I don't care if it's personally or professionally, that it could be a gathering, it could be a meeting, but they have to be the alpha person. Mind you, I'm not suggesting that I'm not alpha. I'm not suggesting that I am an alpha male. However, I see scenarios, and I usually see how things could play out. And so it's almost like it's 5 steps ahead. So then I approach it accordingly. So if I need to speak, I'll speak now, or if I don't need to speak because I don't know the whole picture, or it might be in my best interest to not come across as dominant, because it is almost like I might come across as submissive, but it allows me to gain more information or position me in a better scenario, so then I can capitalize on the knowledge that's being given to me. Then at this point, chances are the information that I know allows me to align myself with the person, and chances are the person is going to like me more, because guess what? Because I let them speak, and based on what they said, then I could ask profound, thought-provoking questions to allow the conversation to be mentally stimulating for the both of us, rather than, oh yeah, I've seen that scenario before. I know. Let me tell you about, and I'm like, oh God,
yeah,
what good is that? What good is that? Oh, I know more than you, or I know the same thing you know. No, sometimes I've been coy. This is it's sad. This is the phrase that I've used often when I know something, when something's brought to me. Like, let me give you an example. Like, someone will say, hey, did you know that this water is not the process that the water they take to make it purified? Do you know? What do you mean? This doesn't come from a stream, or a fresh stream, or a fresh spring? No? What do they do? Come on now. I know the process. But let them believe that I don't, and now they get to feel that they told me something. Now, you see where I'm going? Like, wow, that's fascinating, Tony. I know that. So what do you suggest I should drink going forward?
I love it. And that's a perfect example. So give people, or what I say sometimes is, meet people where they are. And that's one of the things where they're trying to build their self-confidence, or they're trying to build a relationship with you. They're trying, whatever it is they're trying to do, you have to meet them there. But executive presence helps you to realize what's happening. So if not having that intuition of what they're trying to do, you probably would have cut them off, right?
Yeah.
And that's the saying that they say, sometimes things fall on deaf ears. And that's what it is, because you're speaking, but it's not being heard. You're speaking to be right. And that's an issue. And people then, they don't, for a sense, it causes trust issues as well, because the reason for that is, okay, you're always right. You don't trust what I have to say. So therefore, okay, I'm going to just do it your way and go there. And let it be known, people will not follow those they cannot trust. They'll do the work because, okay, you're the boss, you're not the leader. They will do the work, but they will not put in that extra to make sure that you as a leader are going to be successful. Because a true leader with executive presence, they take pride in the joy and the success of their team. They never take credit for the success of the team. So it's, I mean, it's clear to me, and you know, a lot of people don't really, unfortunately, realize this, and so it's so important. Even before you begin, or we go into the next chapter on the segment of the resume things, these are things you need to already begin to have in place, or begin to upskill yourself, because you're going to be going into a job market that is going to be very competitive here with, you know, the current state of the economy, unemployment, those types of things. And people are going to have the cream of the crop. And you want to be that person that stands out. So when I talk about, in addition to that executive presence, you know, there's things that you're going to have to do. You know, you're going to have to clean up your social media accounts, right? You're going to have to make sure that your brand is on alignment with who you say you are and not who you portray to be. There are people that are Facebook famous, as I call it. And, you know, and people look, oh, they're living the life, they're living their best life. Okay, well, that's fine, right? But in all reality, you know, they're just like, you know, you and I, you know, we live the life that we choose to live based on the decisions that we have made. And for that, we don't apologize for that. But, you know, I'm telling you that executive presence, because before, again, you know, the next chapter, getting into that resume section, I'm telling you, before, if you look at every application, there's a link on there and says LinkedIn profile, Twitter profile, X profile. And most people don't put it, but guess what? They're going to Google your name anyway. So what? So, you know, so you have to start there with that branding and begin to brand yourself now. And I know people that, you know, they don't even do this prior to a job. I'll talk to clients and, you know, they'll send resumes or these types of things over. And the first thing I do is I Google them, or I look at their LinkedIn or whatever the case may be. And, you know, for me, fortunately, I get to decide if I want to work with that client based on what I see, because of my values and how my brand stands. And so, and that's a great space to be as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. And I want to touch on what you just said. It makes sense. It's great to be put in a scenario, or you put yourself in that scenario. All the things you did and are still doing now leading up to this point allows you to pick and choose who you want to do business with. Mind you, that also applies to anyone that's listening to this right now, meaning that if you're a salesman, or you are, even if you're not a salesman, you pick and choose who you want to do work with. And it's all about how you mindset. You start thinking, you're thinking, well, Marcello, what are you talking about, Willis? I got a boss. I got 5 people that I work in the team. I have to work with all of them. Yeah, in a sense, but you know, but you can create a scenario that is conducive and is happy for everyone. But at the end of the day, I'm thinking about, in my scenario, I'm in sales, and I pick and choose who I want to do business with. And there's different ways how you could eliminate who you do business with. You know what I mean? You could, you could work in certain markets and pick, I want to work with only apartment communities. And that's how you could not work with that many restaurants. And then after that, if you see a scenario that is not optimum for you and your company, you could gracefully bow out and say, you know what, I appreciate the opportunity to do business with you, but I just don't see it being a good fit. I very rarely have customers say, you know what, No, you have to give me a quote. No, this is ridiculous. I very rarely I have that. They actually sometimes they even say thank you. I appreciate that. And who do you and then I'll recommend you may want to go with XYZ PDQ. But I wanted to go back to what I said earlier about the comment about the water. Okay. I haven't read any comments, but I was thinking about this. I know some of you might say, well, that's being deceitful. Not necessarily. And let me give you a scenario like this. Okay. Think about when you're dating, right? I don't care if you're a woman or a man, and if your significant other is telling you something, and even if you know what they are telling you, like you'd be like, "Hey, babe, what's going on? Did you know this guy told me today about this water? Did you know that this water is actually XY and the process they do to purify it?" And if you say this, yeah, I know. Oh. Oh, okay. But if you say, really? Tony, so what did he do? What's the process? Tell me. Now you're snuggling up to your significant other and like, let me tell you, right? You see the difference? Now you feel like you're bringing, I don't want to say value, but you're bringing something that you learned and you're sharing it with your loved one, right? You feel good. I know I would, right?
Absolutely.
But we all been in that scenario that we have brought it up to our significant other. I'll say the other has said, yeah, I heard about it.
Wow. Old news, right?
Exactly. But, obviously not always. You should always say, yeah, tell me more about it. No, but think about it, how you feel as a person when someone says, no, I don't know about that. How bad, that's not much of a bad lie. That's the proverbial white lie. Now, you think about it, your ego feels good. So now let's bring it to the scenario I brought. I'm dealing with a customer, a client, or even an internal customer. If I allow them to share what they feel is noteworthy, even though I know it already, but mind you, even though I think I know it already, because they might bring something that I never thought about or didn't even know. So then when they share that with me, I might say, well, that's interesting. I didn't know that they took this step. I heard about that, but not this. That's fascinating. Now you allowed yourself to people, for people to share that with you. So you got to think about the scenario, it's just how you will feel. So consider that. So that's what I just want to share. Sometimes, even though you know or you think you know, allow someone just to share some knowledge, and you'd be surprised how far that goes. So now, executive presence. I know you shared already about the mindset, and we want to stay on topic. I know we're going to talk about resume in our next segment. The next time we have our show. I'm curious to know what else did we need to tackle or address when it pertains to executive presence?
Okay, so I think the biggest thing too is removing the notion of that you have to be booted and suited is what I always call it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you definitely you want to present yourself in the brand and the matter, but you don't want to dumb yourself down, right? And you definitely don't want to come across as arrogant. But you just have to be yourself. And the thing that you have to do is, in order to gain that executive presence as well, you're going to have to work on your ability to network. Because in order to build that, this is not something that you can do on your own. You're going to need people around you that is able to give you feedback on how you communicate, because you might think you're a great communicator and everyone else in the organization may think you're horrible, right? And as we were just talking about the example, your example is a great way to create dialogue, not even just for then, but in the future. So when that employee comes back to you or someone comes up with an idea, they feel they can approach you and have a conversation with you. And now you've created, guess what? A personal connection that is a part of executive presence.
Bingo. That you nailed it. You put it well said. I was doing that, and that you articulated it perfectly. That's the key thing, because what happens is now you only want to, mind you, I made the person feel good.
Yes.
We all like to feel good. So I creating a scenario for them to feel good, it's going to be reciprocated naturally. So then think about this too. It's also karma. You're putting it out there. Yes. Then it could come back to you as well. So everybody wins. Think about this, right? And I go back to what I said. You may say, "Oh, that's deceitful." No. But think about this now, right? What about if that person might have had a bad day or a bad morning, right? And they come and it's like, you know what? I'm going to turn it around. I'm going to turn it around. And somehow this person just had a wild hair and thought about the water and this and that, and they say, "Hey, Marcello, this is crazy, these waters, how we've been going through these water bottles so crazy, how wasteful they are." Now, given that said, do you know how this water is done? And I'll say, nah, I already know. Remember, I say, he or she might have been having a bad day. But because I allow them to share their story about how the water is purified, I could impact their mindset for the rest of the day.
Absolutely. And let me tell you, and in addition to that, you have indirectly impacted other team members' mindset, because now you've become the water cooler talk in a positive way, right? So let me tell you, like I was explaining this to Cello and and now everyone else, oh, he's open for feedback, he's open for dialogue, right? And you let everyone, then it just begins like this positive domino effect, right? So you go to setting that stage, and what you do, and when you're within an organization, you definitely seek out the most influential person in that subset of people or on that team, because you know that they're going to tell you the truth. They're going to tell you that Sally comes in late every time at 4:15, right? Because they've been tired of it and waiting for you to come to address it. But you're going to find the most influential person, and because you're there for a service. As a leader, that's what you do. You are there of service. It's it's not just a title. It's something that you live by. So, setting that tone and that stage in an open atmosphere, there's nothing like it. And I'm telling you, you will excel. And that's going back to, me speaking of the example of the previous VP. But that was unfortunate because he never was able to adapt to being able to have a conversation, to personally connect. And all of these things then engagement began to be tied to compensation. And so you low engagement scores, and you're wondering like, well, why is the other VP engagement score so high? Guess what? He really didn't go through change because he already knew who he was prior to this restructuring. And it was just like, okay, I just have less people that report to me. And we removed one department, but who I am, the foundation of who I am is still here, because I built on a solid foundation of myself, executive presence. And I have the mindset to be able to know, okay, that this is just who I am. And that's pretty much it, Marcello. I'm telling you. It's this stuff I love.
It's such a simple process, and unfortunately, people overthink it sometimes. I would say most of the times they just overthink it, and then by the time they realize the changes that they need to make, it's too late. And I say it's too late because then I consider this. I'll give you the best scenario that I keep going back to relationships. So I think about this because still work. It's another form of relationship that you have. It's a personal relationship. So think about this when you're in a relationship with someone. I think that and initially when you're in a relationship and you meet and you're with them and you're happy and you're in a glow, you respect them. There's a level of respect in the beginning, right? Our jobs as husbands and wives is to keep that respect going. Once that respect dwindles, and there's a lack of respect, then chances are it's hard to bring that back. So you really can't go back and, go to team building events, which in going to like an example, like relationships, taking a trip is not going to be the switch that you need to flip that things are going to turn around. It could start the momentum, right? No question about that. But it's how you finish. It's not how you start. Is what makes the difference. The same thing applies in personal. I mean, in professional. You might have started out good, but then you need to continue. You need to continue fostering that good behavior, that good relationship for them to want to continue respecting you. But when you said about the engagement scores, the reason why those engagement scores were down, chances are, is there was a lack of respect. Yeah, they're going to do their task because they want to keep their job, but at the end of the day, they don't respect you enough to do any more than what they were hired to do.
And it's important that we have to remember, even for ourselves, but we have to make daily deposits into people. And those are things of affirmations. And we have to understand, like I said, meet people where they are. Sometimes you have to hold either their visions or their dreams for them as a leader until they can see them manifest. Because as leaders, we see the dream and vision and potential in them before they ever see it. And so we're holding on to that and coaching them through the process. So those daily deposits are important. So, as you talked about the water scenario, it's not a lie. It's a daily deposit. It's an affirmation. It's, okay, I understand you. I hear you, and it's just important that we remember that, whether in our personal life or professional life, that people want to be heard. That's the key word. They want to be heard. And what we need to do is listen, not listen, actively listen, not just listen, not listen to respond, but listen and also listen to what is not being said. So these things are all so important. And that's why I just tie all of this into executive presence, because again, there's people with the titles, but there's no executive presence. And, basically defining it is the essence of who you are based on body language, tone. And when I say tone, I want to also, just point this out, being sarcastic or being a narcissist, those aren't part of executive presence, right? Yeah. But staying humble and making sure that you are grounded, because I'm telling you, because even in some of your darkest time, personal or professional, your teams are going to lift you up, and they're not going to let anyone speak bad on your name. You're like, Tony, you talking about Tony? No, never, not him.
Not my dude.
And I can remember being in corporate America. That used to make me feel so good, because I never had to defend myself to anyone based on any decision or the case may be. And that was all because I earned the respect of not just only my directs, but my colleagues and those above me as well. And so that was my executive presence. And it took me a long time to even realize it, until my mentor told me, he said, you have the strongest executive presence I've ever seen. And I was like, well, he goes, when you talk, people just want action. They just want to do it. You have passion. And then he started explaining it all to me, and I had it and didn't know it. I just knew I was a positive person, smiling, and I just knew people didn't believe I was in the military. So I'll keep saying that, but so sometimes so my mentor held the vision, that knowing that I had an executive presence, and he pushed me into corporate America based on knowing that what those under me would be getting, the daily deposits, they would be getting a phenomenal leader, an executive with a true executive presence.
Man, you nailed it. You know that. I mean, and let me tell you, I'll be honest with you, and I'll let folks know that we're going to go into the comments before we wrap up our segment. But I had an idea, and I'll be honest with you. I mean, and I mean this. What I'm about to say to you is going to be earnest, because I say earnest because sometimes when you hear people say, "I got to be honest," or "Yeah, that's such a crock," or "I'm telling you the truth." That's another one. Yeah, that's such a filler. Just tell me the freaking truth. Don't tell me that you're gonna tell me, well, you've been lying to me all this time. So, to be honest with you, I'm sorry. I did not understand, or prior to our show today, or before you mentioned it, I did not understand the definition of executive presence. I looked it up. I looked online before our discussion, but when you mention it, yeah, I nod my head originally. Okay, that's an interesting phrase. Okay, but still, I didn't know the essence of it. So I went into this discussion today with open ears, because I really wanted to learn and understand your philosophy on the topic. So I'm glad we had a discussion on it, because I have a better perception of what that word means. And now, to be honest with you, I'm going to be looking at individuals and scoring them in my mind on, do they have what would I give them as an executive presence score? Do I give them an 8? Is it a 5? You know what I mean? Are they just, so I'm going to look things a little bit differently after this discussion. And I'm glad that we talked about this, because now I see things differently. Obviously, I'll be looking at myself too, and I'll start grading myself. I'm like, okay, how am I? To be honest with you, my executive presence changes depending who you speak to. I've been known to be an a-hole from time to time. So people might like, I give him a 2. But there's certain people that love me. They'll say, "Oh, this guy rocks. He's a 9." So you know who you are if you're watching this. Because as nice as I sound, sometimes I can be a butthole. You know what I mean? Because hey, I'm human.
I'm only human, right?
Yeah. I say that because, see, it goes back to what we said earlier. Facebook famous, right? Yeah. Facebook, they're like an image like this. Everybody's, this is earlier tonight. You just hugging up. Oh, everybody's hunky dory, but then, no. But like I said, yeah, I could be an a-hole. Yeah, I'm human. And when I mean by human, I'm moody. I go ups and downs, and sometimes I'll sit there, Tony, and I'm like, another honest moment with you. I'll sit there, I'm like, why am I not in the best mood right now? I mean, I'll sit down and I'll start talking to myself. What can I, sometimes I'll actually wait. I don't know if it takes 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours to change my mood. Sometimes I want to analyze what happened. Did something happen, But I digress. I just wanted to, I went a little bit of a tangent.
No, that's right on point though, because that's a part of executive presence, being aware of your mood and how you are, and root cause and what gets you there. And so if you know you're not in the best place to be around the team, or those things may be, then today is not the best day to go and deliver whatever news it is, right? Because if it's good news, your body is going to exude it. But if you're in a bad mood and it's good news, you're sending mixed signals. You're in a bad mood delivering good news. Like, how does that make sense, right? So what you said is spot on.
Oh, shucks. Thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, that's really it threw me off, but thank you for sharing that. I mean, I wanted to go back earlier. I got my dude, Nick. He says, because I was mentioning that he always got these one-liners. So he said he's going to change his name to One-Liner Nick. I love it. So we got here. So now my dude, Gabriel, he said he had to run because one of the gentlemen that was on the link lunch earlier was going to be on Gabriel's live tonight, which is, his name is Martin Pratt, and you probably seen him when you was on the show earlier. Now, let me see here. Let me go. I got my lady, Shan. Shan, thank you very much for the compliments. I mean, I went into this discussion, like I said earlier, with open ears and open mind, and I learned a lot. So thank you very much for your compliment. Now, this is what Nick says. Your why is what your vision, and get so obsessed by that you can't go without it. Oh, thank you. What tune is this?
That's the dry Riesling.
Oh, dry Riesling, guys. Cocktail cello.
They're treating you too good over there, Cello.
What was that? They're taking care of me. I know.
Yeah, they take care of you.
And now this is what my dude Bob Morrison says. True leadership is the absence of self-gratification. Wow.
Wow.
You know, but it's so, you know what it is? It's funny. I can step back for a moment on this, because what happens is, well, that really messed me up, because you know what it is that I've been known to give. I give, and I love to give, and very rarely I get fussy about when someone needs something. It can be. Let me give you the best example of who I am at my core, right? And this is not being Facebook famous. This is who I really am, right? Let's say, for instance, all right, my wife and I, we're in bed, and I go to the bathroom, come back, and my wife, she's sitting down. She's like, "Hey, babe, can you turn the fan on?" Okay, well, she can get up and do it herself. I do it, right? But mind you, I'm probably already in bed after leaving the bathroom, and she didn't tell me that before walking by. I get up and turn the fan on. "Hey, babe, can you go downstairs and get me something?" I have no problem doing it. The better way to put it is, it's my pleasure to do it. So going back to self-gratification, the same thing. I want to help without receiving anything in return. So that's how I am. So nowadays, it's titles don't create winners, visions and determination does. Oh, dude,
Love
yeah,
Nick is on.
See, I told you, Nick is on the ball. Let me see what my dude is. I've been known to challenge a few peeps in my day. Oh, come on, this dude. Do you know? Have you interacted with Kenneth much?
I haven't, but I have a home in the Woodlands, so I'll be out that way. So maybe maybe the three of us will catch up.
Yeah, and this dude is no joke, man. I had the pleasure to, when I was in Frisco, Texas, earlier this year. We jumped on a Zoom call, and I introduced him to my in-laws. And the craziest thing is that my nephew is wanting to pivot into a different career, and the same career that he wanted to pivot into is the career that Kenny's in. So, and it's a very sophisticated scientific career. So I'm not even gonna try to even mention what I think it is. So, but it's very sophisticated. But it's basically almost like a scientist. And this is what Kenneth is. Let's see what else it's saying here. All right, so smiling is contagious, and we all don't smile enough. Keep on smiling, Tony. It's true. It's funny you say that, and it's so true. We have to do that more often. I think about when I'm on stream sometimes, when you and I talking, I find opportunities when I'm watching, because I make an effort to look right into the camera, so when people are watching, they can see if you say something that I like, or even I connect with, I smile. Well, I mean, I do that on the video, but also I'll do that in person. It's the proverbial nod in your head. So think about this. We all do that, don't we? We all nod our head when we're talking or we're listening to someone, because that's our way that we actively listen. What about if we change it up from time to time? Nod, nod, smile, nod, smile, smile, nod. Now think about. I'm sorry. It's not in that same cadence.
Okay.
But think about this now. It goes back to earlier about the water thing. If you were the recipients of those smiles and nods, wouldn't you feel also better? I mean, come on.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. So if you do that, guess what's going to happen? They're going to want to do it back to you. And that's going to strengthen your connection personally and professionally. Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And man, you'd be surprised. You start doing it and be like, oh, that's not natural. It's not about being natural or not. You do it because you actually want to. Because that's your way to express that you like it. Rather than giving a vigorous nod, just give a smile. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I love the mental stimulation conversation. Thank you. I appreciate that. I wanted to get to one comment here. It says Marcello Asile. I Googled my name. No, it's funny. Now here, this dude I connected with him recently. He got a podcast. He invited me. We're gonna have to definitely get connected to jump on his podcast. So he says, "Would you do business with someone that you previously told no?" That's interesting. If the scenario changed, in my scenario, no, you know what, Tony? I want to hear your point of view. Go ahead, Tony. Share your point of view.
I think we were going to head down the same road if the scenario changed based on the client's needs, the values, based on, because for me, if I tell you that, hey, it's not going to be a good fit, then, you know, I kind of have this, I guess, intuition. So let's say if the client came back around 6 months later, because now you can't come back the next day and say, okay, I've changed, right? But I'm gonna do my homework, right? And
yeah.
And my thing of it is, if that client reaches back out to me, we're gonna go back to that previous conversation first. We're gonna have the conversation and talk about, so when we tried to enter into this venture the last time, these were the things or the roadblocks that prevented us. So then you put it on the client. So what things have changed that you feel that now is a good time for us to move in this direction? And then you can discern from there, based on what they're telling you, that, you know, what changes have made or not, that if you want to go there. And we have to remember, we're all human, so people do change. So, you know, if you feel that that fit is right, or what they're telling you or what they're selling you is truly the truth, then yes, I'll do business with clients that I've previously told no, or told me no, or I've told no. And actually, I have done business with clients that I previously told no.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that. The way that I've told no to people, and I do it in a sneaky kind of way. Well, I feel sneaky. Because historically, when I've approached this direction, it usually works out in my favor. Yeah. So what I've done is that, let's say, for instance, someone says, yeah, let's talk about like right here, this LinkedIn Live, right? This is perfect. Hey, Marcello. Hey, what's going on? I want to get on your LinkedIn Live. Wonderful. Yeah, let's talk. We'll schedule a call and we start talking. Well, good enough. Well, you know what? I think that we could definitely do it if I really believe that. Yeah, we should jump on a LinkedIn Live. Okay? But this is what I recommend you to do. And this is the pivot. Do me a favor. Won't you list a few topics, or maybe even if we jump on a LinkedIn Live, share with me a few bullet points, anywhere between 3 to 5 bullet points on what you want to talk about. Now, in doing so, what that's going to allow us to do is that when we jump on it, you know that I know what questions I'm going to ask, so that allows the conversation to flow, and then we can have an organic conversation. An organic, slightly with some structure, because we already know the structure, but then we could then at this point, we could dip to the right, we could dip to the left, but we know where we're going.
Right.
Most of the time when I say that, I don't hear back from them. Or if I hear back from them, I'm like, okay, good. Yeah, we should definitely let's do this. Okay, let me see what day is good for me, and I'll follow up with you. Then I'll wait a week. They don't follow up. I wait 2 weeks, they don't follow up. How important was it for you?
Not at all. Yeah, and that's a very good point there, you know, because someone reaching out to you and expecting you to do the work, and that's key too. You know, like, this is something that you approach me on this situation. So I think that's very important, because then you get to see how people's how their follow-up is. And if someone's follow-up is that bad in the beginning, just trying to enter into something, is this someone you really want to be doing business with at all? So
yeah. So I would so that's the way to answer that question, Pedro. Another one, he says, your greatness comes from the impacts you make on others. Yeah, I would agree with that. Floyd says, very true. People want to be heard. Yeah, I mean, that's the key thing. I mean, people love, I mean, think about it. What's that thing says? That's the reason why we got 2 ears and 1 mouth. So, you know, so the same thing applies. Ken Washington. Yeah, I think that applies to everything that we said today. I mean, everything we said. If anything, yeah, he's doing exactly what we're talking about. Thank you. He's feeding to our ego. And Jamal says, and this dude, you gotta love him. If you're not connected to him, please do. He has a daily video that he posts every single day. It seems like he's every day while he's on his trail, and he's giving these highly thought-provoking insights on various topics. It's phenomenal. So I definitely recommend you guys to connect with him and engage up with his content. So now Jamal says, Marcello is coming with the brutal honesty, and I always appreciate